Hi, everyone. Today I have with me the wonderful, wonderful Anna Goldstein. She was so gracious to come on my show. And I thought, what a better way to go into 2022 with some extra juju, some extra motivation. Everybody is ready to set bold goals for the new year. And Anna just wrote a new book, Be Bold, a guide to unbreakable confidence, is packed with wisdom, with practical exercises, with personal stories, is a page turner. I loved this book. She is a life and business coach. She had she coached hundreds of clients, and she also has a website where she has about 200 podcasts there, and she's recording more. So Anna, thank you so much for coming on my show. And so without further ado, please tell us, what is confidence?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. Confidence is so important. I think we all know this. It's an internal feeling that comes from the inside. And really what it is it's being able to connect with the part of you that doesn't let the fears, the limitations, the things that typically hold you back, and be able to take action anyways. And so it's a feeling, and it's an emotion that can be learned. So typically we think either like I'm confident or I'm not confident, but it's actually something that you can learn, and something that you can build. And it doesn't necessarily come, and this is part of my book, is it doesn't necessarily come from success. Like normally we think like, well, I need success
Yeah.
in order to be confident. But the truth is that confident people are willing to take risk. They're willing to put themselves out there, to be vulnerable, to step into the unknown or uncertainty. And they're willing to fail, and they're able to get back up and keep going. So, there's many definitions of what confidence is, but I think ultimately, I think it's really being able uh, to take action even when you feel afraid.
That's so wonderful. So you'd say to build up confidence is very important to build up habits and take action, action, action that will build that confidence.
Yeah. So action is what will build your confidence. So inaction, right? So typically we think, I need to be confident in order to take action. But actually, you need to take action in order to be confident, right? So
Yes, yes.
it's being willing to like be a little messy, a little sloppy, a little vulnerable, and mess up, fail, get back up, and be like, hey, I'm okay. And that was part of what the unbreakable confidence is really about, is that, and I think just being timely is like, these last 2 years have been different. I'm going to say hard, because they have been different. It's challenged us in many different ways. And to recognize that we made it through. We made it through
Yeah.
adversity, and we can be more confident in ourselves to face adversity in our lives, because there's going to be more, maybe not a pandemic, but there's going to be something else that is going to be hard in our lives. And so, I think building our confidence from the ability of like, that didn't break me, or maybe it broke me a little bit, but hey, I'm still here.
Yes, we came this far, so we can go forward. And you talk in your book a lot about having a vision, having a focus. Um, some people have visions and visualize a lot, but don't take action. So that's why I think taking action is so important. But also, some people take a lot of action, think they need a lot of skills to learn, but do not have a coherent vision. Or how would you say, what do you need besides action? What do you say to the having a vision? How important?
Yeah, I think they're both equally important. So I think that, it's great to take action, but if you're not really purposeful in that action and directed in that action, you're not really going to get maybe the result that you're aiming for, right? And if you're not clear on what you're aiming for, it's going to be, you're not really, if you haven't clearly identified it, if you won't know if you do achieve it, right? So I think having a vision is really important. I think it's compelling. You want a compelling enough vision, right? Like I think we all could use this right now, is to create a compelling future vision for ourselves and our lives. Something that is a reason why we want to take action. And so when we come up against that, let's say, adversity or those difficulties, because there will be that on any path, is that when we have that reason why that's compelling us on that, for that vision, that greater vision, it helps us to take action. So I really think that they work together. I personally would start with creating a vision and then carving out the actions to achieve that vision. So yeah, I think they're both really important.
How important is visualization, and how would you advise this to be done?
Yeah, I think visualization is underrated. I think that it's I grew up playing tennis. I was a competitive tennis player, so I had a direct experience with this when I was 18. I saw a sports psychologist who taught me visualization. It was really the first time I had applied using visualization, and I visualized myself winning this tournament. I had never won a tournament before. So I familiarized my mind with winning. I would rehearse it on my own so much that when I played the tournament, it was like my body knew what to do because I had mentally rehearsed it so much, and it was the first tournament I ever won. So that really had a strong impact on me. And coaches and athletes at the highest level, they all use visualization, and I even tell a story about Lady Gaga and how she created this persona before she was Gaga, so I think to use visualization is such an underutilized tool that we all have access to, because it's really just using our imagination. And we tend to think, oh, like, that's just imagination, or it's not important, or it's not realistic, right? It's really
Dreaming,
yeah,
dreaming,
it's
right?
not logical or realistic, but that's how great things are created. It all starts in the mind. So I think that it's really important to use that power in your personal life, in your professional life, and see yourself how you want to be, so you can have that mental imprint. Because then if you don't, you're just creating from just where you are by default. You're not being intentional about what you want to create. And it's extremely powerful. I mean, they've done so many studies with athletes that practice visualization and have seen themselves be more successful at something than when they actually practice. And I think so often we focus on the actual skills rather than seeing ourselves being successful at something. And that perception is powerful, because if you visualize, what is confidence? If I saw myself as a confident person, what would that look like? What would I see myself doing? How would I behave? What actions would I take? That's a huge shift, right?
Yes, yes. We are so busy doing our habitual things that we don't take this time to reflect how would it will feel in my body. How embodiment, I think, is very important of your goals. And thinking of that, I'm a mom, you're a mom, and I'm starting my daughter on this path of visualization. For example, we are going to the doctors, and I tell her, let's visualize a parking spot right in front. It is so difficult to get a parking spot around here. And we find a parking spot, whereas before we couldn't. So I get her started a little bit on that, which is wonderful. I think it's a tool that we are not used to, and that's why it's underused in adulthood. how when you work with your clients or you help them to achieve their goals, how important do you think is for them to identify their belief system and to change their belief system? And when do you think that belief system is created in them?
Yeah. So I think that, our belief system, I kind of see it as like a computer, right? Like we have this belief operating system that we have.
Yes.
And oftentimes we don't upgrade the operating system. We form beliefs starting at a very young age about ourselves, about the world. It comes from our teachers, our parents, our culture, our religion, and many other influences, the media, and we absorb these ideas, and then we think them over and over, and we believe them to be true, and then it filters what we see in the world, right? So if I believe, like, let's say I had some experience where I was bullied as a child, and so then I start believing like I'm not really well liked, and I don't really like people, right? Then in our adulthood, we might have situations and experiences in our work relations where we're being left out, or, and we're thinking like, why are people so rude? And then we have this belief that people are rude, and we keep seeing people being rude to us, right? So it filters what you see. And even if somebody is being nice, you might not see it because you have this belief. Right. Or if you do, you discount it, or you think, oh, that was just a nice person, but majority of people aren't. Right. So we all have mental filters. And so I think that, part of my process as a coach is, for example, if we're using this example, let's say a child being bullied, we internalize it as like, they don't like me, or something's wrong with me, rather than, they're not really nice. Right. And realizing like,
it's not
maybe
about them.
Maybe they're not getting enough love in their home. Right. Or maybe their needs aren't being met. And so then they're being mean to me. We think there's something wrong with me. We don't have the conscious ability to separate that out as a child. So we create these meanings. And so what I do as a coach is go back to some pivotal moments where we formed these beliefs and start to look at alternative views of like, oh, mom was working all the time, and so I started believing I wasn't important, but really she does think I'm really important. She was working because she wanted to provide for me. That's a huge shift, So I think just examining some of those pivotal moments or experiences that were painful in our life. And sometimes they can even be, sometimes a positive belief can even impact us negatively. And I use those terms loosely, but let's say I got a lot of praise at work. In school, and, I was a great speller and won the spelling bee. I'm just making something up, because I was not a great speller. And then, we go into the workforce, and, somebody points out like, oh, you did this wrong or something. And we really take it really hard because we think like, this is what I'm great at. And then we kind of get into a self-loathing pattern. And so just because you had, let's say, a positive experience as a child doesn't mean that it could provide you positive, a positive impact in your adulthood. So I think we just want to like just assess like what's coming up, not judging ourselves around it, but just like we're all a work in progress. I think being confident is being able to admit that you're not perfect, that you have these weaknesses, that you're willing to be with the weaknesses, and really focusing more of your attention on what feels good inside, and building a life around that and updating that, because what felt good in your 20s might not feel good in your 30s, So I think it's just like examining what's coming up, in your world, and how does that relate to your past, and what meanings have you formed?
So yes, I mean, you have a goal. You see something is holding you back. Don't let that stuff holding you back. Examine it. Follow your vision. Visualize. Just move forward. What would you say about setting goals? How big the goal should be, or
Yeah.
to
Well,
motivate you to stretch you?
yeah, I'm a big believer in thinking big, but acting, taking small actions, right? So there's a tendency for people to, create these really big goals, but not break it down into really small steps, right? So if you have a really big goal, what does that look like on a weekly basis? And then a monthly basis, and then a yearly basis, because it's really the small things over time that add up, and we think that we have to make these like big leaps or these breakthroughs, when really it's about small little shifts over time. And if you even think about like what's like one thought that you continuously think, like I start the book with talking about the negative voice in your head. So like if you think like I'm not good at fill in the blank, or there's no space for me, it's a saturated market, or whatever, like if you shift one negative thought, let's say a day, which is not easy to do, but that over time like can have a huge impact. So I think it's really about small shifts over time that um we achieve our
Accumulate.
goals.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what would you say about writing? Because mind is a messy place, and writing sometimes helps us, I think, organize our thoughts. How important writing is to achieve our goals.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in writing things down, even if it's, getting out the junk. Um, I think that it gives us more clarity when we put it on paper. It gives us a different perspective. Um, and then I'm also a big believer in writing and writing down and journaling about like what you want to create, what it looks like. Um, writing in present tense about what your goals are, and yeah, so I'm a big believer in writing things down.
Wonderful. We are both moms, and what advice would you give parents to start kids on a solid belief system to set them up for success in
Yeah.
life?
Um,
An easy
yeah.
one, an easy
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. I think words are really important, and I think it's really important what we reinforce in our children. Um, and so I think there are certain sayings, maybe even teaching, like I teach my son affirmations. We have a ritual where before he goes into school, I say to him, like, you're awesome. And then he gives me five and says, I am awesome. Um, so I think also using language, being conscious of the language that you use about them. This is like a pet peeve that I have when I hear people talk about their kids negatively in front of their kids, like, or even naming, oh, they're not good at that, or, um, you know, calling them certain things because they hear it, and it becomes part of their identity. So I try to be I'm not perfect, but I try to be mindful of reinforcing. Like I have a son, and so I'll say to him, like, you're very sweet. Or I try to praise the qualities that I think make people good people. Like, oh, that was very generous. When I see them, when I see him exercise good qualities, I try to praise the quality, um, or, that was very empathetic of you, so that he starts to identify with these feelings. And I remind him that he's a good person. Sometimes I say to him, which I think is fundamental about confidence, is trusting yourself. So I'll say to him, I trust you. If I find myself kind of nagging him to do something, like what it's like, brush your teeth, right? I'll say to him, I trust that you're going to brush your teeth. and I kind
Oh,
of let it go. So I give him this like power instead of him feeling like I have to listen to mom, like I get to do it. Um, I'm learning, I'm a work in progress, but I do think generally speaking, the words that we use are really, really important.
really create their belief system. Yes, I believe that. Do you find that younger people are easier to change, to adopt um, new ideas and achieve their goals faster? Let's say when you work with a client that is on the younger side than a client that is on the older side that has been telling themselves the same story, let's say for longer, the negative story for longer. How do you find working with clients of different ages?
Yeah, I think young people, they definitely have a different, understanding of consequences. The prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed until you're 26, which is when you really understand more consequences. So I think that that's definitely an advantage. But at the same rate, I think being a conscious adult where you do understand the impact of things can be an advantage as well. you know to I don't think I told this story in the book, but for growing up, I never really was great in English. It wasn't my subject. I was definitely more of a math and science girl. I got my pages marked up and I saw a writing tutor, and so I formed a belief that I'm not a great writer. I don't know grammar. I'm not a great speller. um, and so I'm aware that I have this belief. I understand how I formed it. And because I am, conscious of that, I don't let that belief stop me. Right. So I think being aware of the storyline, and also having more of a greater purpose, like I want to make a positive impact. For example, I lead with the passion, um, to create and to write. And so I wrote a book, but I don't
Yes.
think I'm a great writer. So,
Oh my
you know,
God.
so I share that story because we all, like, just because I wrote a book doesn't mean that, I have I think highly of myself as a writer. I know that I trust my experience working with people. I know that my gift is more like with understanding the mind and helping make complex principles more simple. So I lead with that. So I think, you know, confidence and being a conscious adult is to hear the storyline, but to not buy into the story as like, oh, that's true, I'm going to let that stop me. So I think any age really has its gifts within
Yeah.
that. I don't know what it's like to be older than my age now, but from what I've heard, there's a little bit more acceptance or freedom in this is me. So I think, whatever our story, we have a lot of stories about age, like I'm too young, I'm too old, type stories. So I think just
Yes.
recognizing the storyline and identifying what it is that you want and not letting the storyline stop you is the ultimate
Yes.
goal, really.
Yes. Well, on that note, I think we got enough information to set bold goals for 2022 and not let anything stop us. Action, 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 I would say, and go after what we want. And follow Anna on Instagram. She has about 12,000 followers. I'm one of them. She inspires her followers. Um, so Anna, thank you so much for your generosity today. And I wish you a 2020, an awesome 2020.
Thank you so
2022.
much.
2022. Why do I keep
It
saying
feels like we're
2020?
stuck in 2020. That's why,
Oh my
maybe.
God. No, 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 no. So yeah, bold goals for 2022 and have an amazing 2022. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much. Thank you.